The Guatemalan Highlands is a place where you can find women dressed in vibrant traditional clothing, churches blasting music on weeknights, and people cultivating on impossibly steep terrain, while lava shoots skyward in the background. Before hitting the trail, we made a stop at a San Simon Mayan shrine. Outside, children are being blessed with lime juice, and people burned offerings in intricate arrangements, while inside people prayed on their knees and left gifts for San Simon. These shrines are one of many ways the Mayan traditions have been blended with Christian faith. As someone who was raised Catholic, this at once felt like a strange pagan ritual and eerily familiar. It made me think of my husband's reaction to attending a Catholic service, as someone who was not brought up in that tradition, and his feeling that some of the church practices seemed bizarre or cultish. There are numerous trails and roads crisscrossing the Guatemalan Highlands, but most cross private lands and pass through local villages, so a guide that has permission from the communities is essential. We walked along paths through crop fields, along dirt roads, and occasional paved roads through towns, but also squeezed through overgrown jungle trails, waded through grass, slid down sandy slopes, and scaled steep sun-baked ridges. In the jungle, unseen birds sang around us. One of our guides showed off his bird calling skills and got some of the birds to answer back to his call. We tried, but we never were able to catch sight of them in the web of branches and vines. I think this trek is for the traveler who wants to see a slice of the true Guatemala. This area is diverse and has no shortage of natural beauty, but it's not the pristine wilderness kind. Instead, vistas are often framed by cornfields, which can add character if you're in the right frame of mind. As we went, our guides helped us identify the crops and pointed out interesting plants. One of the most unique was a tree with demon chicken foot flowers. Beyond its flashy flowers, the Mayans used parts of this tree for its medicinal qualities and used the leaves to cook tamales in to give them a unique flavor. We walked through a quiet town, then down a steep dirt road lined with coffee plants. There were other shade trees mixed in, like orange and avocado, to shelter the coffee. Everything seemed very dry compared to the forest we saw on the previous day. It was interesting that in less than 10 miles we had seen such a variety of ecosystems. On the far side of the bridge, ghostly moss waved in the wind, and the trail began to climb, slowly weaving its way up the mountain. The trail felt wild at first, but slowly transformed back to coffee as we climbed. The sun was hot on the trail, and instead of avocados, these coffee plants were shaded by palm and castor trees. The coffee harvest was underway, and while it was mostly adults working, there were a couple families with kids helping, and several women carrying infants while they worked. The final bit of the hill was cleared for crops, so it was quite hot with the sun beating down on us, but we found a patch of shade and a cool tree at the top. We crested the hill to the sound of classical ice cream truck music, and found a guy with speakers and a full-size cooler strapped to the back of his motorcycle. Camp for the night had a lively church on one side, and a view of the volcanoes on the other. We watched Fuego put on a show with the soundtrack of the church blasting modern music through its speakers. The girls and women seemed very shy, but the boys were a bit less so. A group of boys came and played in the soft grass by our tents, doing handstands. A couple of smaller boys were trying, but kept toppling over, so I assisted one of them by catching one of his legs to help steady him, and he giggled with delight. The other boys saw this and started doing the same, which quickly evolved into boys piling onto other boys, and giggling mass of limbs tumbling around on the ground. The morning of the third day was one of my favorite sections of the trek. We were in crop areas for most of it, making for an ever-changing, interesting landscape and unimpeded views of Fuego. We were far enough away now that we would hear and feel the rumble long after the actual eruption. The volcano was particularly active today, and we saw trails of smoke or dust slide down its flanks multiple times. From our perspective, the debris seemed to move in slow motion, but I'm sure up close it was moving at terrifying speeds. Most people didn't have much, but they seemed to have a lot of pride. As we weaved our way past agricultural fields, one farmer even invited us into his property to show off his avocado trees. Vehicles and boats were usually proudly decorated, and I really enjoyed the style of the buses. Our dirt road joined a proper road, and we continued on that through town to our final camp. The smell of dirt and vegetation was replaced by diesel fumes. As we walked through the town, it felt like the tables had been flipped. Instead of us being the tourists, we were now the entertainment for the locals, which seemed like a pretty harmless trade to me. Our camp was perched on a hilltop, high enough that you could have a view one moment and be completely socked in with fog the next. The clouds cleared long enough for us to get our first glimpse of Lake Atitlan, and a stunning sunset. Check out the links below for our full article with more of the story, tips, and resources. As the sun was fading, we went to a local weaving collective to learn about backstrap weaving, the traditional way of making cloth in this area. Much of the detail work was done by hand, with nothing but their skilled fingers. On our final day, we woke to a cloudless morning, and Fuego was once again erupting in the distance. It felt exciting to be on the final stretch, but also a little bittersweet. We packed up, gazed at Fuego one last time, then turned towards the lake and started walking. We had one last hill to climb, so we made a late morning coffee stop to give us some extra energy to power over it, and of course learn about what really goes into producing quality coffee. The farm we visited was a small family operation, and they were very conscious about not letting anything go to waste. They showed us every detail, including how they used special worms to help quickly transform the bean skins into rich fertilizer. This bit of the trail made me laugh, because it was rough right up to the bridge, then the part right by the bridge was paved, and back to rough on the other side again. After the bridge, we actually faced the most challenging part of the trail yet. It was just a short section, but it was super steep with loose soil, so we had to get a hold of some exposed roots to help pull ourselves up. As we worked our way towards the lake, the wilderness slowly melted back into civilization. At the edge of town, the lake finally came into view, and it was stunning. The light filtering through the clouds made for a dreamy vista of the lake, with its many volcanoes rising up from the water's edge. As the sun dropped, the clouds swirled, making for a dynamic, ever-changing scene. I would have loved to just find a spot and watch, but we had a boat to catch, and endless steep stairs down the lake would be treacherous in the dark. We reached the lake just as the sun dipped behind the mountains. We had done it. Thank you for joining us on this adventure. There are resources below and information on free ways to help support this channel. The easiest is liking and subscribing. Thank you. Happy exploring!